Devlin, Untamed.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Platform.
iOS, It's Only Sport. That's the name of the podcast. That's the name of the radio show, Daily 1 till 4 on the Platform. My name is Martin Devlin, Lachlan War alongside. This is the highlights from today's show, including interviews with Eliza McCartney. Best pole vault jump last weekend in the last 4.5 seasons for Eliza. Ryan Fox joining us as well, talking about what's it going to take to secure that PGA Tour card for next year. Andy Raymond unfiltered out of Australia, looking at the league news, in particular Valentine Holmes, that 4-week ban, plus of course Melbourne Storm celebrating 2 premierships that were stripped of them for the fact that they were completely cheating the salary cap. We'll talk about the Women's World Cup as well. Kane Williamson is back. So much sports news as always to cover. We begin the show, tablets in hand, I say gather my flock. It is time for a sermon. It's all about pay parity. Let's walk cautiously to the mountaintop.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
There's been a lot of bluster in our local press lately about pay parity and equality of income distribution for female athletes. And essentially, it's just a big pile, to me, of cheap and easy clickbait headlines that scream, "Sex as peg!" at the invisible male oppressor deliberately making decisions that keeps women's sport in the financial doldrums. Never are you going to read any easily explained arguments around the actual economics involved. And equally frustrating for me is the complete lack of any ideas or solutions or framework provided that might expedite any positive future change. Take the football ferns, for example. We deserve equal pay is a continuous call. Equal pay with whom? With every non or semi-pro male player in the country who barely earn $1 themselves? With the Phoenix men who play in an Aussie Pro League that barely covers its own costs? The opening night crowd and win over Norway at this Women's World Cup was nothing short of spectacular for the Ferns. Results over the 12 months prior to the tournament were nothing short of disastrous. A successful run at this tournament, followed by a spell of consistent winning results thereafter, is the only currency the Ferns have to offer. And if you want to be paid in any business, then you've got to give your employer something they can sell and keep on selling. I'm not saying that the women don't deserve it, just like every employee in every job in this country would agree that they too deserve more of a share from their employer. And of course, it's something well worth aspiring to, but the situation is a hell of a lot more complex than simply yelling, "It's your responsibility to fix it" at your national administration, like the Australian Matildas recently did. Let's look at women's professional tennis. That leads the world in equality of gender income distribution. For years, the Grand Slam tournaments have offered equal prize money. That's because the athletes earn it via the numbers they bring. Viewing figures for female matches often outrate the men's. That is very attractive to advertisers and sponsors. The more eyes on the product, the more interaction, the more engagement, the more money comes in. It's not that difficult an equation to understand, but you'll never read any of this in the mainstream media. The pay parity discussion is not going away anytime soon. Yes, it has merit. Yes, it needs to be heard. And yes, it isn't nearly as simple as the clickbait headlines might want you to believe. We live in increasingly difficult times. Nothing comes easy. And being a professional sports person isn't an instant guarantee of retirement wealth. If you want to get paid, well paid, and this is a lesson for not only the football ferns, but all athletes, first earn yourselves a consistent, marketable audience, and then find someone or someones out there who can and will successfully sell your wares on your behalf. Because that is exactly what every other person doing every other occupation all over the globe is required to do.
Devlin.
What do you want? We want information. Information. You won't get it.
The Platform.
Lachlan, as always, headlines, and I prefer them to be sporting.
Well, you're in luck, Martin,
Thank
because
you.
this is a sports show,
Okay.
and I only deal in sports, as well as absolutes. Start off with the FIFA Women's World Cup. I always like to lead with this tournament, considering there's a FIFA tournament in New Zealand, or partly in New Zealand. I think that's always something we're celebrating every day. The United States reached the knockout stage of the World Cup with a 0-0 draw against Portugal last night at Eden Park. It was nervy for the US, the two-time defending champions. They survived a late onslaught, including a shot that hit the post and came out. I mean, from Portugal that was. Had that gone in, they would have been out of the World Cup. The draw enough to see the US go through. They finished second in their group, second to the Netherlands, who they drew with in Wellington a few days ago. I think that game was last week. The Netherlands smacking Vietnam 7-0. And with all due respect to the Vietnamese, Their defenders were a bunch of Harry Maguires and a couple of those goals. Just
shockers,
heads
mate.
up, standing around,
Shockers, mate.
not actually being alert or
Well,
aware.
remember when they played the football, Ferns lost 2-0, and I said that a lot of them looked as though they'd been introduced to a round ball for the first time, that they just didn't look as though they'd played much football.
Yeah, they don't know the rules or anything. So the Netherlands finished top of Group E, 7 points, 2 wins and a draw. The USA in second, 2 draws and a win. They're on 5 points. Portugal miss out. In Group D, England topped the group there, winning all 3 games. The second of those, the most emphatic, a 6-1 win over China last night. Denmark beat Haiti 2-0, so I believe it's the Danish who are through as well. Yes, they finished second on 6 points, 2 wins and a loss. So England ended up finishing off quite good. Lauren James, the sister of Reece James, the Chelsea fullback, she scored a couple of goals for England, so good to see. Meanwhile, back to the US women's football team, one of their former players, a stalwart, once was, Carly Lloyd, has criticised her former teammates, including stars Alex Morgan and Megan Rapinoe. After, I don't know if you saw this post-match because you watched the game, they were happy, smiling, celebrating, dancing on the field post-match. She wasn't happy at all and said they shouldn't be doing that.
Well, she set the standards. I mean, she's a multiple World Cup winner.
Exactly.
And this is United States side that is
scraping
to
through.
deceive. Exactly.
Looked awful. We're lucky to get through, you could say, because that shot that we talked about before, you played the audio of it earlier on from Portugal, hit the base of the right upright with, 7 minutes to go, 1 minute into stoppage time?
Yeah.
And then you're celebrating, you're dancing around, you're acting like you won the game 5-0, for goodness sake. All right, some cricket news. Black Caps white ball captain Kane Williamson has returned to the nets and faced a couple of throwdowns, maintaining hopes of his presence at the upcoming ODI World Cup in India. He continues to recover from an ACL injury suffered in April. He had an operation on that injury, I believe. Kane, I think so. He posted on Instagram a clip of him batting in the nets. A cricket match in Sri Lanka had to be brought to a halt after a snake slithered onto the field. The Lanka Premier League match between, is it pronounced Gale or Gaul? Is it Gaul?
Gaul.
The Gaul Titans and Dumbula Ora was stopped when players noticed an unwelcome visitor on the pitch during the latter's innings. The New Zealand Breakers have filled their second import spot for the next Australian NBL season with the addition of American guard Parker Jackson Cartwright. So I believe he's actually had a good couple of years in the German Bundesliga recently, so that's a good pick up for the Breakers. The Wellington Phoenix have inked a 3-year deal with midfielder Finn Conchi. He's signing on a 3-year deal with the A-League side. And as well as that, Ashes news, England cricket news. Brendan McCullum says he was more than happy to share a beer with the Australian squad now that the Ashes series is over. He suggested after the second test that he wouldn't do so following a controversial incident, that incident being Johnny Bairstow stumping. And as well as that, apparently these were reports that after that 5th test, the Australian players were waiting outside the England dressing room, keen to have a beer and catch up after the match. Waited around, nothing happened, and as soon as they left, England decided to leave their locker room as well. But no, all is not lost. Plenty of love still between these teams because there's always been love between England and Australia when it comes to cricket. No, they are having beersies together. I doubt that's the case. Anyway, for the time being, Martin, that's what's making news.
Devlin,
Oh my goodness me!
the platform.
World Athletic Champs are just weeks away in Budapest. They start mid-August. Tom Walsh last week throwing his best shot put in 4 years. Eliza McCartney on the weekend, her best jump in 4.5 years, clearing 485. Previous best this year, 475. And she's only 7 centimetres away from her very best ever, which in 2018 was 492. 7 years since the bronze medal in Brazil. Eliza McCartney. Absolutely delighted for you with that form and to see you competing so well and jumping your best in 4 years. But I guess not as happy as you are right now, right?
Yes, I'm very, very happy to get myself nicely back into the 80s again in the 480s. It's definitely been the most obvious next step for me. So I was very pleased to hit that at my last comp.
Yeah, what kind of a progression is it to get towards that and get back to that? Do you really have markers? Do you set yourself like, okay, there's the 4.6, I've got to get over that. Then do you write it down? Okay, there's 4.7. How do you actually do this?
Well, I definitely think of it that way. Like I do think of it very much step by step, and not trying to kind of achieve far too much in one competition, because there's so much to focus on in pole vault, and so I do find it easier just to think of it like that. And I started off in the domestic season around the 60s, and then I got into the 70s again. And when I came over to Europe, I was back in the 70s again. But I knew that the next thing I needed to do was get myself in the 80s again. So yeah, I was kind of really thinking about it that way. But I think it's been really obvious that there's some big jumps on me at the moment, and it's hard to get it all right on the day. So in Luxembourg, it was certainly an example where things were just kind of clicking fairly well at the time, and I managed to, go over 85 quite nicely with not too much room to spare, but it also wasn't the best technical jump either. So I'm quite happy with that. It means there's still more in there.
Do you break it down afterwards? Like you got multiple cameras on you and things, and then you go into a computer room and you look at all that. What happens?
A little bit less high tech than that,
okay.
But we do have a very nice iPad that films very nicely.
Right.
But yeah, no, for sure. We, all of my jumps are filmed and we go over them, and I will write a comp report about what happened, and then I meet with my coaches, which I've literally just done right before talking to you.
Okay.
And then we have a big debrief about it and then what we want to do for the next competition. So yeah, there's a lot of analysis going on for sure.
Psychologically, how important has it been to you to just get this kind of gradual progression? Because I'm sure that at times when you jumped 4.75 in April, you probably thought then, I could squeeze this, I could stretch this, I might be able to get this, but you've got to be patient still, do you?
I think to a degree, like sometimes you're just on fire, right? And you might just make some really big jumps all in one competition. I think that's not quite how things have been for me lately. And I don't mind, because I've been away from competitive, this level of sport anyway for years. And so I'm certainly giving myself that room just to take it step by step and not expect to be right back where I was when I was jumping well a few years ago. So yeah, I think, everyone's different, but for me in this season in particular, my whole goal for this European season is basically just finding my feet again and getting myself back to where I was. And then I can think about, jumping even higher and breaking my PB and doing things like that. But right now I'm very much focused on let's just get back to where I was, really nail some really important kind of technical things, get really consistent. And that's when the heights will really start coming, I think.
You sound confident. I can feel it in your voice, though. Something's changed.
Well, I think, I've done a lot of competitions already over here. I think that was maybe my fifth one so far in the last month or so. And so, the more I compete, the more confident I get. And I'm learning a lot at the moment. I'm quite a different athlete to what I was a few years ago. And so to some degree, there's a lot of this is new, and I'm kind of like, I am trying to find my feet again and just settle back into it. But yeah, with every comp and every experience, I do gain confidence, and I feel good about my jumping, and it's very clear what I need to work on. So that's I'm not trying to scramble and find out how to get better. Like there's a lot to do in a good way. So I am feeling confident.
When you say that you've changed a lot, is that body wise? Is that physically? Is that technically? Is that mentally? Is it a combination? D, all of the above?
It is a combination. The biggest ones are definitely physical and mental. Like physically, I'm running quite differently, which is a good thing. I'm running in a way that's kind of protecting my body a bit more and hoping to allow me to have some longevity in the sport. And so I don't have the same sort of kind of injury issues that I did have previously. So I'm physically moving quite differently, and I think I'm a lot faster maybe not a lot faster, but I'm on stiffer poles than I was using to a degree, which is kind of showing that I might be a bit faster at the moment. So yes, physically for sure. Mentally, absolutely.
Great.
Quite a different athlete to how I used to be. Most of it's because I've been through quite a lot now. I've been vaulting for 13 years, I think it is. And it's quite a long time to be in the sport. And, I'm only 26, but it's a lot of experience. But also in that time, there's a lot of negativity and trauma and all that sort of stuff. So it's taken a lot to kind of overcome a whole lot of kind of psychological barriers that I had to get back to competing at this level. So it has made me quite a different athlete.
Okay, and when, I'm just sitting here with so many questions to ask about how long do you have? I mean, how old is a pole vaulter? How long can you go for?
Well, people definitely go into their 30s quite comfortably. I think the peak age is thought to be maybe just under 30, or late 20s, maybe around 30. I think people seem to peak around that time. But yeah, there's certainly pole vaulters that have gone into their mid to late 30s and still done reasonably well. So there could be quite a bit ahead.
Do you look at it in terms of how high you want to jump, or do you look at it in terms of what you'd like to win at these competitions from here on in?
Oh, very much for me. I'm focused on myself and not winning. Winning's obviously a nice outcome, and I'm competitive, so I absolutely do want that. But I definitely, to jump my best, I have to play my own game basically. So I'm very much focused on what I'm trying to achieve in that comp, and to a degree, it is kind of heights, but it's also a whole lot of technical things as well. So that's usually where my brain is at.
Eliza McCartney is with us 13 years. It's half your life, you know. I mean, have you ever thought about doing anything else? I mean, there are times where, you know, in what I would call the break, you know, where you're going through your injuries and everything else. And I know that you've done lots of study and things like that, and you've thought, okay, I've got to have something that happens after I hang my pole vault up. But it's a hell of a long time in anyone's life to commit to half a lifetime doing something.
I didn't realise it was half my life.
It's half your life.
But you're right, it is.
Yeah, that's it.
It is. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think I'm setting myself up fairly well for life after sport, but it will be weird because, as you've pointed out quite rightly so, this is my life, and it has been for a long time. And I often reflect on how lucky I am. It's an incredible job to have. I get to travel all through Europe right now, and meet amazing people and see amazing places and compete everywhere, and I just love it. And I'm very aware of how kind of fortunate I am to have that. So I do want to do it for as long as I can, but I know that there is life after sport. And I guess I'll be ready one day. But yes, I'm about to finish my environmental science degree at the end of this year, actually. So that will help me out for when I'm ready.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full.
Devlin. The platform.
Eliza McCartney with us, with Tom Walsh on last week. There's Eliza, both of them pulling out best throws and jumps in the last 4 years, as I said. And Lachlan, what does it mean to you? We've got the World Athletics Champs coming. We've got the basketball coming. We're in the middle of the FIFA Women's Football World Cup. We've got the Rugby World Cup as well. We've got the One Day Cricket World Cup coming. But, you know, to me, growing up with Commonwealth Games and Olympic Games, seeing black singlets on the world stage at Athletics Champs is something different again. Because, you know, it's not that... Well, I was going to say we're used to our teams competing in, you know, team sport events, aren't we? We're used to dominating with rugby. We don't get to see our football ferns or our All Whites, you know, although the football ferns have made consecutive World Cups, but I was going to say our men's team playing in every single World Cup and so forth. But as far as basketball goes, again, I mean, we've had one or two highlights, but, you know, getting through. But actually seeing Hayden Wilde, seeing Hamish Kerr, who we speak to a lot, Zoe Hobbs, Eliza, Tom Walsh, seeing these people, these New Zealanders, great New Zealanders competing on a world stage with a black singlet. What does that mean to you? Does it mean, like, I suppose in a long-winded, waffly way, does it mean what it does watching our other sports teams excel at the highest level? Does it grab you like that?
It's different because I think there's less of a connection with them as opposed to the likes of the All Blacks or the Warriors or the Silver Ferns.
I forgot the netball, my bad.
I guess actually that would be in part, and it's no fault of anyone's, but we just don't see those individual athletes compete much. We see them at very small national meets, and then their big competitions are always overseas.
Yeah, world champs.
And then Olympics come around, the world champs come around, and then we act like their biggest fans, and then a lot of us don't really, not me necessarily, but a lot of us don't really pay much attention outside of those 4 years. But when you get to know them and you keep in touch with them, as we both get to do with our jobs, but then you start to get a sneak peek into their lives of being on the road all the time, looking after themselves, booking their own accommodation, no assistance. A lot of them are coached from afar. It's quite incredible what they do. Like, I'll never get over...
I'm full of admiration,
when we spoke to Aaron Gate last year and he got 4 golds at the Commonwealth Games, then we spoke to him days after he finished up and he said he was in Spain, and we're like, you're on
put
holiday.
Your feet up, son. Yeah, Costa del Sol, nice.
No, he's competing.
Yeah, I'm out riding 20 Ks a day, you moron, so I'm trying to earn some cash, he said. Look, I mean, this is it. I'm just a sport numpty, people, and I delight in this. Eliza happens to be the daughter of my doctor, and so I can't say I've known her since she was a kid, but I've known of her and been around and sort of met her and seen her and that, and I've just watched her career, followed it with much interest, and after going through what she's gone through, I mean, she's 19 when she won that bronze medal. 19. And it just seems such a long time ago, doesn't it? 2016. We got questions about the Women's World Cup, though.
Next!
Because I'm the Minister of Common Sense.
We need to talk.
Which means I get to talk.
We need to talk. Next!
Were you hoping the United States got knocked out last night? Say it.
No, because I quite like Alex Morgan, so no.
Megan Rapinoe.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. I feel the same way. I just really feel the same way. Yeah. You're a traffic light, you know? You make a stop because you got a funny thing on the top of your head.
I'll say this.
Apart from that.
I think I've said this before. I lost all respect for her when I saw footage. You know, she goes on and on and on about pay equality and pay parity and has a go at people in power and stuff. And that's fair enough, whatever. And then I saw, footage of her, a fan, asking her to sign a ball for her, and it's a young boy at what looked like the ESPYs or some sort of awards show, and she doesn't even look at him. It's a young boy. It wasn't young. It was a young boy, like a 10. Doesn't even look at the boy. Grabs the ball, looks away, signs it, gives it back.
I lost all respect when she said, I'm not going to go to the effing White House, and that was when Donald Trump was president. Listen, the only reason that you've got fame and fortune is representing your country.
Yeah, I mean, have a bit of respect for the country and have a bit of respect
and the
for the people that worked, that were before him there. But she looked ordinary last night when she came on.
We've got nothing to offer
well
now.
Past
38.
her best.
We're nothing to
past
offer.
Her best.
Apart from flapping and screaming and yelling and throwing the hands around. How do you get similar-sized crowds back again to watch women's sport, women's football and women's rugby have sold out Eden Park? I'm asking this question. The people that should be answering this question in New Zealand rugby, New Zealand football, I know that neither organisation or institution has a clue. And that is borne out by the fact that since the Black Ferns won the final last year, there has been no increase in rugby attendances for women's rugby in New Zealand since.
There's been no rugby to go to, apart from Opiki.
Yeah, and now
no
the Farah Palmer Cup
is on, and now the Farah Palmer Cup, which again no one knows is on.
Your superstars go overseas to play Mickey Mouse Schoolgirl Sevens tournaments when those players should have been back here, putting back into their game that they now want to cash in off. I just sit there and I just go, who runs this joint? That is not the way to run a business. You let your best employees leave at the perfect time where you need them at home to capitalise on the momentum that was created. Next! And I don't think New Zealand football have got a plan, man. Do they? What's your marketing plan for women's football? Because women's football in this country hasn't existed as a sport. It's been completely under the radar like men's football is. Men's football isn't at the top of the tree in New Zealand. No, it never has been.
To have a plan, you've got to be proactive. And to be proactive, it's got to mean that you're doing a job or you've been doing a job. And with all due respect, what evidence has there been that New Zealand football have done such a stellar job with either the teams or the tournaments or the crowds or anything? None of this has anything to do with them. They can't parade around and put their fingerprints on this tournament and say, great work from us in Football Australia. We've done so well. Praise Football Australia for getting the rights to hosting, because if they don't do that, we don't get anything.
No, we got zero chance.
And people are going to these games because of the reputation and the image of some of the bigger teams, the USAs, the Englands of the world, Spain and the Netherlands, and because it's a FIFA tournament.
Next!
Like they did with the under-17s, under-20s.
If it was an under-17s, it would go nuts.
Is it the occasion then, rather than the sport, which is attracting these big crowds?
Yes, it helps that football's such a closely followed sport. It'd be like, if you had a standalone fixture of, say, the USA versus, that Portugal game last night, if that was a standalone, or them against England or England up against the Netherlands or some of these big teams, it would draw at Eden Park, if it was well marketed and outside of a World Cup, it would draw 20 to 30,000.
I think 20 to 30,000.
Which is still a very good crowd.
But if the football ferns play another game here at home, they won't get. Well, see,
they would get an all right crowd.
I think you could get 10,000, maybe 15,000.
Thanks to that one over Norway, people actually know them and talking about them and would be keen to see them again.
But this is the reality of the base of where the support is and how many customers you actually have coming through the door of the shop. And when it comes to local football, well, it survives on goodwill and people who work at these clubs for nothing is what it does.
Football fans in this country, in terms of the teams that they follow, they'll be fans of the All Whites, they'll be fans of the football ferns to a degree because it's a New Zealand team. But people like you and I or other football fans we know, their teams are Premier League teams.
Yeah, Premier League teams.
Next!
Knockout games so far. We have 4 in place and we're still waiting for the rest to absolutely confirm. The Swiss play the Spanish. Call it. Who wins that one? That's on Saturday.
Spain.
I think it's a penalty shootout and the Swiss get it. Japan versus Norway.
Why do you think Swiss?
Well, just because they've got a good defence and haven't conceded a goal yet, right? Japan versus Norway.
Japan.
And the other side of the draw, the Poms play Nigeria.
Oh, Nigeria have played well this tournament. I'll say England. More quality.
And then Australia, Denmark. As I said, the rest
Denmark.
all to be decided. Oh, Denmark?
Yeah. I don't know if Sam Kerr will be fit, and if she does play, I don't think she'll be fully fit. And again, Denmark are a very good side.
Couple of matches tonight, then, a couple of the groups rather wrapped up. There's, when I say a couple of matches, because they're on simultaneously, Argentina plays Sweden. We expect Sweden to win that. They'd then go on to play the United States because they'd finish top of the group, the US second. South Africa play Italy. Italy you'd expect to get through. If that was the case, they would then play Holland. Panama play France. France, the top of that group. You'd expect them to get through. Jamaica play Brazil. You'd probably expect the Brazilians to get through. And either one of those play Colombia probably or Germany as it unfolds. Ryan Fox, good old catch up with Ryan. He is back in New Zealand for a few weeks. As he's about to explain, he's hanging up the clubs. He's going fishing. He's had a bit going on in the personal life. Battled a bit of illness this year as well. His thoughts on exactly what he needs to do right now from here to earn that PGA Tour card next year. I mean, it's been rough and tough, hasn't it? I mean, you know, the pneumonia you got at the Masters, I mean, battling that. I mean, it hasn't been the easiest of years, mate.
No, it hasn't. I mean, it seems like, you know, everything that could happen off the golf course has happened this year. Obviously some good and some bad. You know, throw in, I've had a stomach bug, I've had pneumonia. I've done far more travel than I've done probably as a professional this year. So yeah, it's this year's certainly taken it out of me, and you know, need a bit of rest, and actually need just some time to actually focus on the golf game as well. You know, I feel like a lot of this year I've just turned up to tournaments kind of hoping it would go okay, and not really having done much work in the lead up. And you know, hopefully a few weeks off, and then I can actually spend some time, you know, getting the golf game in shape, and hopefully a big push at the end of the year.
Ryan Fox is with us. I know, because, you know, looking at it from outside in, I mean, you know, everyone goes about their normal lives, and I suppose for most of us, we just think, oh yeah, Ryan's playing this tournament, he's playing this tournament, but I mean, you've still got a life to live, you know, and when you have a new one coming into your life, and then other things that have happened in your family, which have been very sad as well. I mean, it's just, you know, you kind of forget that all of this stuff would take its toll with everybody. And, you know, you're out there on your own with a golf club in your hand trying to keep your mind focused on it. It's not easy, is it?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, you know, you compare it to last year where everything kind of worked really well. You know, I had the family travel, you know, after those difficult COVID years, everything felt like it was back to normal. And yeah, traveling with a toddler can be interesting at times, but it was very rewarding as well. And, you know, everything was going well off the golf course, and everything was going well on the golf course. And then you swap it around this year, and it's, you know, everything's been chaotic off the golf course, and trying to compartmentalize and, you know, almost use the golf course as my sanctuary to an extent. And I've done a reasonable job of it for the most part this year.
Yeah,
but
you have.
Then you throw in, you know, playing a whole bunch of new courses, playing, you know, most of those designated events on the PGA Tour, which is like playing a major every week, playing hard golf courses. You know, something in the end was going to give, and it kind of felt like 3M was that week where I just didn't have it. I wasn't even close, and I had nothing left in the tank. And it kind of came at a good time, knowing I had some time off at home, and I can just go back and, you know, try to chill, try to just get some energy back in the tank, really. And, you know, hopefully, you know, the family's coming up later in the year to Europe, and hopefully that makes things a little bit easier off the golf course, and I can, you know, go back and hopefully play some decent golf like I did last year, and try to get that PGA Tour card, whether it's through the PGA Tour or whether it's through the DP World Tour. You know, it doesn't really matter which way it comes. It's, you know, that's just the goal at the end of the year, to try to get a PGA Tour card for next year.
You played bloody good golf this year too, mate. I know that's probably really frustrating, because the times that you have, I mean, you've looked right on the verge. I keep saying, you know, I feel like a 5 to 10 or a 6 to 10 placing at a major isn't out of the question. Some of the golf you've been playing and everything. And I suppose it just brings it back to, it's a snake, isn't it? You got to ride this bloody snake when you play this game.
Yep, you do. And, you know, it's, you know, I said it before, you know, trying to play new golf courses almost every week is hard. You know, at least in Europe, I probably would have been able to get away with a bit more in terms of prep, and just, you know, go, and I don't need to go and see the golf course as much. I can just play the Pro-Am, and you know, I know what to expect. And you're almost playing the golf course to see what condition it's in, not to see how you're going to play it. Whereas a lot of this year's been turn up on a Monday, try to do some work, play all day Tuesday, you know, trying to figure out the golf course and trying to compete against guys that have played it, you know, played the event multiple times before, and it doesn't help when they're all in the top 50 in the world as well. So,
right, yes.
You know, there's been a lot of that, and I've probably, I wouldn't say exceeded expectations, but I've probably met expectations at the start of the year. You know, I feel like I can compete with those guys, and for the most part, I've sort of been one round away from turning a lot of these tournaments into really good results. You know, I've had one round, whether it's on a Sunday or whether early in the week, say the British Open, shoot 78 in the first round, and I actually had a pretty decent week after that. Played pretty solid. But there's been a lot of that this year where, I just have kind of played my way out of it a little bit in one round, and I guess that's what happens at the top level. If you're not quite there, you're getting beaten up by some pretty brutal golf courses, and I've just happened to have it, a fair decent amount this year, just one round. But I've turned in a lot of really solid weeks, 15th, 30th, and strong fields, which is certainly nothing to sneeze at.
How do you get the headspace back into where exactly that you want it again? You're always a very positive guy. You always, seem so philosophical about your golf, and you try and not take things too seriously. But this is your livelihood. You've got a lot of ambition, and also, you've got a lot of things that you want to achieve as well. So is taking the actual physical time, is that the best thing at the moment, is it?
Yeah, I think just purely putting the clubs away for a couple of weeks. I might play some social golf, but I really enjoy that, and I haven't done a lot of that this year. I feel like when I've been home, there's been a whole lot of other stuff going on, and it's just been all of that. So, try to play a little bit of that. Try to obviously do some dad duties and enjoy the time with the family. And I've always enjoyed getting out on the boat, and that's sort of my way of decompressing. So hopefully the Auckland weather lets me do that, once or twice over the next few weeks. We are going to Fiji on holiday as well, which will be nice, just to completely forget about the game. And I think for me, it's I know the game's there. It's just trying to get refreshed, basically, get in the gym, get the body right, and then just get the mind kind of back in it. And I'm sure 5 weeks, it feels like a long time, which is kind of nice, actually. All the breaks I've had this year, kind of feel like I'm just getting used to them, and then I'm away again. So hopefully 5 weeks is long enough to get refreshed and ready for the back end of the year.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full.
The Tight Five.
I got the team locked and I'm going to read it out. I don't know if it is the team, but a good mate who texts all the time says, heads up, here it is. So we will debate that. Is that the All Black side, the run-on side with the reserves? As well as that, the NPC starts Friday. Did you know? We do this for a job. Did you know? Biggest crowd ever at a women's sports match in New Zealand last night, Eden Park, United States versus Portugal. You hear that? There was no New Zealand in that. United States versus Portugal, 42,000+ fans, more than went to the Black Ferns England Rugby World Cup final. Extraordinary. And congratulations, New Zealand again. Kiwis getting out there supporting sport. Absolutely brilliant. Sell out at Twiggers for New Zealand, South Africa. What a great story that is as well. Kane Williamson is back, batting. Brilliant. Just let him bat. He bat as much as he wants to bat. And if he wants to come back, let him come back as well. Look, I'm showing me some pictures before about a zoo in China where spectators have accused the zoo management of putting humans in bear suits and making them act like bears. And I tell you what, they look like bloody human bears. I think they might be bears. We won't talk about that, but it's worth actually, we'll give you a where you can actually go and find that if you've got a couple of minutes free this afternoon, want to go down a rabbit hole on the internet. As well as that, yes, stinky old Melbourne Storm celebrating the 2007-2009. This just absolutely riles me, this does. But let's go through the All Black side. And this is what our good mate, I won't say who he is because he might actually have the word and I don't want to bust his cover if that's the case. How about this side? Lining up to play the Wallabies. It's going to be announced officially tomorrow and Ian Foster will be on the program with us. Taimati, Samasoni, Nepo, there's your front row. Sam and Brody are the locks. Summerpenny Fino, he gets his debut start. Sam Kane comes back. Artie is at 8. Christie and Damo are your 9 and 10. Leicester and ALB are your 12 and 13. Braden Eno gets a start on one wing. Stevenson on the other. Jordan at fullback. Or Stevenson could be at fullback. Jordan could be on the wing. I don't know exactly how those are going to unfold. Then you've got Dane Cole's offer. Fletch, Tupu Vai. You've got Jacobson. You've got Aaron. You've got Richie. And you have got Dallas McLeod on the bench. Is the All Black coach going to make that many changes?
I wouldn't have thought so.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, that's a side to me that's playing Uruguay at the World Cup, probably minus Brody and Sam.
Yeah, that's what I would have said as well. Mm-hmm. I'd be surprised if there's that many changes. But if that is the inside word, then so be it. But I'm very pleased to see Jordan at fullback. I'm pleased to see Stevenson involved in some manner.
Yeah, look, I think he's on the plane. I really do.
And Damien McKenzie back at 10 because I don't think he did anything wrong in that test against Argentina, so it makes sense that he gets a run there again.
What does that tell you, though? Beauden Barrett's not the number 2, number 10?
Well, no, I don't think it's quite that. I think it's more that they just want to see Damien McKenzie at first 5 again. That's all I think it is.
No, if you think you got a team...
But, I mean, we're not playing, Tonga or Japan. We're playing the Wallabies.
Yeah, we don't want to lose this test match, and we don't want to give them an in, do we? We don't want to give Eddie Jones anything. So, yeah, I think that we're going to pick a stronger side than that. We'll wait and see. Melbourne Storm 207-209. This was a week or so ago, but it's really hit the news big time in the last 24 hours as Cam Smith and Slater and a few other old Antichrist stalwarts go into bat for the club. They were doing a 25th celebrations. I think it was versus Parramatta, that game, and they paraded out all their championship trophies, and they brought out the 2 that were stripped off them because of the salary cap abuses. Andy Raymond there says it's the accountant's fault. Look, this is how I view it. I think it's very simple. I'm not sure that any one of those players knew exactly what the other players were earning, but by God, they knew the freebies because everyone talks about this. These are mates, tight guys. They have got friendships for life. And you know what it's like working in an office. We all talk about girls. We all talk about certain other things. And all of a sudden, if a 70-foot boat just arrived in my driveway, said Cam Smith, I don't know how it got there. I don't know who gave that to me. And when you're looking around that dressing room going, well, I know I'm on $500,000. Well, that guy must be on at least that. He must be on at least that. They bloody knew. They cheated and they knew.
Well, of course they knew.
Of course they knew.
They were signing multiple books.
Don't tell me it's all...
Caravans and boats.
That's it.
They absolutely knew. They would look at their bank account and go, well, there's a couple extra $100,000.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Well, if I'm getting an extra couple of hundred, well, that guy's the captain. He's probably getting an extra couple of hundred, isn't he? How are we squeezing
maybe
this
an extra
under...
million.
What was the salary cap? $3 million in those days?
Well, I don't even think it's $3 million these days, is it?
I think it's gone up to 6.5 these days. They had out of the 40 best players in the NRL, they probably had 20 of them in that side and squad.
Oh, they had... Cameron Smith, Billy Slater, Cooper Cronk, Greg Inglis, for starters.
There you go. They lost Inglis. Remember
those
that
are
to give him
four
up.
of probably the 8 greatest players of the last 30 or 40 years.
And the highest paid players in the goddamn league. I don't know why the NRL doesn't go there and physically take those trophies off
why
them.
do they still have them?
It's a disgrace.
If they were stripped of those premierships, why do they still have the trophies? That makes no sense.
Biggest crowd ever at a women's sporting match in New Zealand last night. Cock-a-doodle-doo, New Zealand. Hey, Grant Robertson. So, I'm sorry, what was that again?
Go the Highlanders.
Raise our game. Go and get stuffed, mate. Learn a little bit about what you're talking about before you start talking about stuff like this because you don't know what you're talking about. It's as simple as that, isn't it? Chiding New Zealanders for not supporting, not buying enough tickets.
Yeah.
Lachlan, 35,000 turned up for Italy, Argentina at Eden Park last Monday in Auckland. 42,000 last night on a Tuesday night in Auckland. Who goes out on a Tuesday night? Quiz night, maybe?
Me. Football.
There you go.
Social football, that is.
42,000.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I mean...
And I don't care how much the tickets were or whatever. What I care
maybe
about...
Grant Robertson will sit up there and go, oh, hey, well, good thing I see what I see because now they're turning up.
That's right. It's all to do with me.
It's all me.
It's all to do with me.
Israel Flowers on that Melbourne Storm team as well, by the way. Adam Blair, Michael Crocker. I'm just looking at the roster now. Jeremy Smith.
Who was the prop that came here and played for us? He was on that side too.
Oh, the guy that talks like that.
What's his name? Steve Price. Steve Price was on that side too.
No, he wasn't.
Wasn't he?
No. Was he? No. He played for the Dogs and then came to the Warriors.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I mean, Anthony Quinn as well. He was a great player. Sam Takatizi was a great player. Sikamanu. Will Champ.
Sorry.
I'm getting annoyed now.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, your favourite, Clint Newton. He's the Clint Newton. Oh, the RLPA guy.
Oh, really?
He was on the Melbourne Storm.
You were sucking money out of it as well, mate, were you?
Still up to his old tricks. Anyway, what was
brilliant
the question?
Crowd last night, wasn't it?
Yeah, brilliant crowd. Yeah. Well, we knew this was going to happen. This happens with global tournaments that come to New Zealand. They always attract a lot of fans.
And look, when we get into the knockout
we should
stages,
never have been worried.
I can't remember. I don't know exactly how. I think we've got a couple of quarterfinals and a semi-final, haven't we?
Well, I'm going to the quarterfinal at Eden Park.
And a couple of round of 16s. Those matches will also be big crowds at Eden Park.
Absolutely.
A raging success this tournament has
I'll
been.
get to see the USA. I mean, you know.
NPC starts Friday.
I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe it when you said that to me today.
Well, I was just sitting having my morning coffee and I saw someone put up something on their Instagram saying the NPC starts this week. And I said, no, it doesn't.
Surely not.
Does it?
Does it?
And it does. There's 2 games on Friday. Okay. There's one at 5:30 on Friday. Isn't everyone still at work?
I said this a year ago. I said it the year before that, and I'll continue to say it. It is now a TV sport, and they need to red zone it. Is what they need to do.
Yeah.
Take a leaf out of the NFL and do the same. with the Farah Palmer Cup and make it a TV sport. Make it something that you can go along to on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, sit in the pub, put a punt on or something like that. You've got about 6 screens and 6 games going on simultaneously.
And take them to suburban grounds.
That's how you resurrect interest. The best thing that I've seen about the Farah Palmer Cup over the last couple of weeks, and I do tune in most weekends just to have a look to see who's playing or what crowds are. Hut Wreck. And the Counties Manukau women doing a little dance at halftime waiting for the Wellington girls to come out. It was just fun. It looked fun. Just looked fun. It looked happy. It's not a amazingly successful professional competition that brings in tens of thousands of fans anymore. It doesn't do that. But if you want to actually excite and attract some interest, we'll put it on TV and let everyone watch it in a format that perhaps is a bit more conducive to how people live these days. As opposed to thinking you can play 8 games separated over a weekend. No one cares anymore.
Well, they'll find New Zealand Rugby and Sky Sport will find ways to not make it happen. Because it's what they do.
Yeah, what they do. Valentine Holmes, 4 weeks enough for that hit on Jaden Campbell?
Yeah, probably. I think it's
red card at the time, should? When are League going to do this?
League are very strict on how often they give out red cards, though, or sending off.
Essentially, you've got to take a baseball bat onto a field and clock somebody across the bonce with it, don't you?
The saving grace for Valentine Holmes is that his arms were up and he was making a tackle, but the problem was, of course, that he was leading with the shoulder right into someone's head.
There you go, but in rugby, it doesn't matter if it's accidental or otherwise, you go.
Rugby, that's a red card.
Yeah, well, it's right. I mean, when you've got a guy like Wally Lewis coming out and he's got CT, I mean, as Andy said to us before 2 o'clock, the next 5 to 10 years, mate, those that don't have serious brain problems from that era are going to be in the minority. And League, you're staring at it and you're looking as though there's nothing there. Andy Raymond Unfiltered, that's the name of his podcast, ARU. League issues, including the Melbourne Storm and those trophies that they still have after having the titles taken off them, and the Valentine Holmes hit on Jaden Campbell. Really, should that have been a red card, amongst other issues? What is more chance of happening, Andy? The Wallabies beat the All Blacks in Dunedin, or the Eels make the 8?
Eels make the 8.
Oh, you got no chance of making the 8. You got to play the Broncos and the Panthers, mate.
We'll give the Broncos a touch up. I've got no doubt about that. We slipped from when I say we, the mighty Parramatta Eels. They slipped down to 11th, and we're a shandy ahead. We're a shandy ahead of the Titans, the Dolphins, and the Roosters. So it could potentially get a whole lot worse. We play the Dragons this weekend. You would like to think with Dylan Brown back in the side, which is another argument we could have for another day. You would like to think that the Parramatta is a decent old chance. But the way the bottom half of the top 8 fell last week, the Raiders, the Sharks, the Cowboys, all fell. The Titans, the Eagles, and the Knights all won and rose. So we were riding off teams 2 weeks ago, and now we've sort of got to stop and scratch our heads a little and think, okay, they're back in. What's happening here? And an advantage the Knights and the Eagles have got is they drew earlier this year, so they're on odd points. They're basically just competing with one another, because if it comes to same amount of wins plus that 1 point for the draw, the Knights and the Eagles are in a far better position than the Sharks, Cowboys or Eels. So, mate, interesting month ahead, really interesting month ahead. And, of course, a lot of it starts with Friday night. What a must-win game this is. And these are the games that in the past the Warriors haven't always won. A game where they are favourite. They're on the road. Their record is good. Their record is good against the Titans. On paper, they outplay them. In years past, that's when the alarm bells start going off. Titans had a good win last weekend. It was only the Dolphins, but they had a good win, and there was cause for optimism in the way they're playing. But the Warriors rested up. Looking forward to it, mate. I'm looking forward to all 8 games this weekend, because all 8 games have a bearing on the minor premiership, the top 4 or the top 8, so that there's not a game that doesn't have anything hinging on it.
Couple of questions. Valentine Holmes on Jaden Campbell. We've talked about this a lot, Andy. And I'm just revolted by this kind of stuff. Come on, rugby league, do the right thing. We had the King, who's got dementia, CTE, and you and I both know, you've dealt with this, you've spoken to a lot of players on your brilliant podcast, mate, that the head knocks these blokes have taken, the pleasure they've given us, the amount of times we've roared at the TV, we've loved watching them play, and now they're going through all of these health things. Well, when Valentine Holmes smacks Campbell like that, he gets 10 in the bin and comes back on. League has got to catch up with rugby here. They've got to stamp this out of the game. He should have gone. That to me was a red card hit.
Not even up for debate, Marty. Not even up for debate. That's the crazy thing. We see a lot of collisions where if there was 10 people in the room, 5 would say sin bin, 5 would say send off. So I can understand those ones and the referee erring on the side of caution. But this was point of the shoulder to the head, automatically off,
ugly.
mate.
Ugly.
Wally's come out with the CTE, diagnosis, and it's terrible. Mate, I'm going to tell you one thing, and this is something the league is playing down, and everyone is turning a blind eye to it. Wally is going to be in the majority. In 10 years of time, only the minority of players, will not have CTE issues. The majority will. It's at the moment, I'm not going to say novel. At the moment, we're still acting as though we're surprised.
Yes, we are.
A guy from the 1980s who played 300 games, an Origin Test match, he's got CTE. And whilst it is terrible, it is horrible. You wouldn't wish it upon anyone. If you could wave a magic wand, you could fix it all. But at the moment, we're treating it as it's something out of the ordinary.
Yes, that's the way of putting it.
This is just going to be the bloody norm, and that's horrifying, mate. It really is.
I also want your views quickly on the Antichrist celebrating their 2007 and 9 Premiership wins, which were stripped because of the salary cap abuses. And this is the Melbourne Storm, and I've been reading a lot about Billy Slater and Cameron Smith saying, hey, you don't know, guys don't know what it was like. These guys worked hard. Look, it doesn't matter how they worked. You rorted the salary cap. You cheated, you clowns, okay? Those titles were stripped off you. I'm amazed the NRL hasn't gone in there and actually got the trophies back. Why are they still allowed these things?
It's, mate, damned if you do, damned if you don't. I was stunned the Melbourne Storm came out and acknowledged those dates and those years, in their celebrations. I have spoken to so many people about this and interviews on the podcast about it, and my take on it is they are footballers. And some of the guys have even said, as long as I've got money in my bank account, I don't know how much is going in, and I don't know really what my contract said. The face of the salary cap saga at the Melbourne Storm were the Melbourne Storm players. The actions were by several accountants and people without a face in a back office who weren't plastered all over the newspapers. They got the sack, but they basically got off scot-free. They're all working in other organisations at the moment. They're the ones that I'd love to throw hammers at. I really would. I think a lot of the players, if not all of the players, didn't know what was happening. And I say that honestly. I just don't know. A player would know the total amount he is on, and that'd be about it. I really think, and maybe New Zealand is different, maybe rugby union is different, but I think the average league player would know, okay, I'm on $500,000 a year, divide that by 26 payments a year, okay, I'm getting an average of this every fortnight, and I think that'd be as far as it goes. Player managers and the faceless staff at the Melbourne Storm that have moved on without any serious reprimand or criminal charges, they're the ones that I want to throw hammers at.
That's our podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to listen to the entire show, 1 till 4, Monday to Friday, download the Platform app, and via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to whatever shows over however many weeks at your leisure, at your listening pleasure. Platform Plus. First thing to do, though, is download the Platform app.
Devlin.
Unbelievable. Incredible.
The Platform.